Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark on the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 2021 Arabic Tunisian drama Under the Fig Trees. Hey, well, I'll try to go as fast as I can for you. I know that your time is precious and I do not want to waste it. Under the Fig Trees, I thought was an incredibly powerful, incredibly moving, and incredibly deep movie. The acting is spectacular. I'm not sure if these are actual actors or if they're just local people who were used for the movie, but either way, they did an incredibly good job. The writing is where the movie shines because this movie is really, it takes place in one spot and it's about the relationships of these co-workers who are working at a picking fruit from a fig tree all day, and their interactions with each other, the different romantic dynamics of the group, the ways that they are treated by their boss. So when it's a dialogue-driven movie like this, the writing has to be great, and I thought the writing was absolutely fantastic. The cinematography is good. There wasn't a whole lot to do here. It's just kind of in one place at the same time, and the movie is a bit slow-paced, but I still thought it was an incredibly good movie. So we'll start with the boss here with this movie. The boss is an incredibly terrible person. He treats his coworkers kind of like how I was treated when I worked at fast food, only he is a little bit worse than how we were treated. So these people, they work a very hard, laborsome job that not a lot of people could do or not a lot of people would want to do. They are paid very little for what they do, and they have no work-life balance. Some of them work like 7 days a week. They work all day. They work hard in the field, and then, they go home and they come back a few hours later and work again. It's a very difficult life, and they are paid very poorly. And the boss knows that these are people who need their job, that they don't really have a lot of other prospects. They don't have, especially the older workers who are with him, they don't have any other place to go. So he really holds this over their head and he really treats them poorly. At the end of the movie, when everyone comes to collect their money, there's an older woman who has worked for this guy for a long time. She says she needs a day off to go to court, and she wants to know if she can get a few extra dollars for her week because she is in this huge bind. And he really just gives her a hard time about how can you miss time next week? I don't have anyone else. I need you. He really hassles her about this. He ends up caving and he ends up giving in, but you can tell the dynamic that he has with his employees, especially the older ones. It also seems like he is having inappropriate relationships with the women he works with, the women that he manages, even if they don't want to be in, I say relationships, but there's a point in the movie where he actually tries to, it seems like he's trying to rape one of the women that he works with, and he basically tells her that he's the boss, he gets to decide what happens, she can't talk down to him, she can't, she can't resist him because he's the boss, and she ends up getting away from him, which was fantastic. I would have hated that to end any other way. But you can also see kind of how women are treated in this movie as opposed to how men are treated. There's a scene where one of the young adult women who work, she gets in a fight with another one of the women who work there as well. And then after the fight, one of the older gentlemen comes in and says, I took offense to you fighting. You're a woman. You shouldn't be fighting. You should only be happy. I like you when you're happy. So stop fighting because, I'm the man and I say what goes and you need to be happy type of thing. Now, she ends up talking her way out of it, and she ends up making a lot of really good points, and he ends up agreeing with her. But you do see that there is still this war between genders going on, and also a war between young and old. Now, the older workers here, they seem to be less distracted. They talk to each other a lot less. They do have small conversations with each other, but they seem to be more appreciative of the work they're doing. They don't care about a work-life balance. They don't care that they're kind of being slave-driven and having to work themselves to the bone. And that is kind of the difference with the generations today. I feel like no matter what country you're in or what situation you're in, the younger generation is all about work-life balance. The younger generation is all about kind of becoming more friendly with your coworkers, maybe even a little bit about not caring about the work that they're doing because they feel like they're being oppressed a little bit. They feel like since they're being oppressed, they can do a little bit less work. There's two people in this movie who feel like they are allowed to steal some of the figs that they're picking because they are not paid well enough, because they're treated poorly. They feel like they're owed something. I feel like the younger generation here, they feel like they're owed something, whereas the older generation, they feel like they are the ones who are supposed to give and give and give and not receive a lot. And that is a reflection of how the world is right now. And I think they do a very good job of that. There's a scene at the end of the movie where the girls, they end up taking off, like they have like they wear like traditional head garments that you would wear if you lived in Tunisia, where I think it's something that women are supposed to wear. They're expected to wear. At the end of the movie, they kind of take it all off. They let their hair down. They put makeup on. Whereas the older women in the movie, they leave all that on. There is no discernible makeup. So you definitely see the generational gap here, the difference between the generations, how they work together, what they're doing. Now, there's also a scene in the movie where one of the older women talks about how she was in love with the gentleman, and she was deeply in love with this person, and she ended up not marrying him. She ended up marrying someone else, and I got the feeling it was because it was like an arranged marriage where she was told she had to marry this other guy, and she's talking about how she absolutely loved this person, not the guy she married, but this other person, and how she would love to be buried with him one day. And you can see that that is the kind of life that she was expected to live when she was younger. But now this younger generation of women, they are more in tuned with who they are. They have more, or they are more willing to take control of their life. They're more willing to go out there and put themselves out there. A lot of this movie has to do with relationships between male and females within the group. There's a lot of jealousy and infighting between the girls in this movie, but in the movie, they all respect each other and they all end up being friendly with each other. There's there's a couple in this movie who the girl is deeply in love with this guy that she's working with, but he seems like, well, I think they pretty much say in the movie that he is cheating on her, that he is actually in love with someone else, and he's kind of using this girl that he's working with for, I don't know if it's like sexual favors or just because he wants to be in a relationship with someone he works with. There's definitely, and then when she kind of fights back against it, when she approaches him and says, there's a scene where he's caught looking at a girl on his phone who is like scantily clad, and he's zooming in on her, and he's kind of talking about her as if she's like this beautiful girl with his work girlfriend right next to him. And she confronts him about it later, and she says like, why were you doing that? That's not appropriate. Like, I love you, we're in this relationship. And he basically says like, it wasn't appropriate for you to bring this up, like you're being jealous. I'm the man in this relationship. You don't have any right to question what I'm doing, type of thing. So it's subtle. I would say in this movie, it is subtle that there's still this idea that is a woman is subservient to a man. It's subtle, but it's there, I would say. But you can definitely see that the younger generation of women are slowly trying to fight themselves out of that way of thinking. And you can definitely see that when the older woman tells her story, and you see how the younger women are able to control their lives more than the older women were. I thought this was a very thought-provoking movie. Like I said, it's very multi-layered. It's a bit slow-paced. I think that's how it's supposed to be. And yeah, I just thought it was a really good movie. The acting was great. The story is great. I really like the message the messages that this movie is telling. And like I said before, it's really awesome to see movies from other countries like this, to see how they are a lot like, we're not that dissimilar in the way we are around the world, even though we don't share the same language. There is, we have the same issue in America where there are people who do this type of work every day, type of work that regular Americans would not want to do, would not be good at doing. And we are at a situation where we're kind of trying to push them out, it seems like. And they're not that dissimilar from who we are. They're just trying to make a living. They're just trying to raise a family. They're trying to live the best life that they possibly can with what they have. And it's going to be difficult if we ever have to see an entire economy of people no longer existing, and how we're going to deal with that kind of issue. But yeah, I thought that this was a very thought-provoking movie. I thought they did a very good job with it. There's not a lot to complain about here. It gets an 8.5 out of 10. I hope you join me next time when I review Batman: The Long Halloween Part 1. Thank you. Have a great day.